ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very long time. As most of you know, well, I'm guessing about half of you know who I am. A lot of people have left since the last time I've done this. I'm Greatness DC, owner and coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Joining me today under a mask, as his face has been horribly disfigured at his new job, I'm told, is Ryan Rain, owner of the Rams. Ryan, what have you been doing since the last time we were here live for Hard at Work?
Well, I've been promoted to regional manager of the Norfolk, Virginia salt mines. So I've been keeping pretty busy.
Yeah. I mean, salt's a dangerous thing, and I would ask you about your accident, but I know you're still sensitive to that subject. I've personally been my family's needed to be fed. It's been a long, grueling process. You got to feed them every day, or they're not happy with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we're back here. There's no promises for me that this is going to be any kind of semi-regular thing. My job right now, once I switch over to my new shift in the near future, it'll probably be easier for me to run this. But with me working nights, it's hard for me and Ryan to get schedules together and do this at a time some of you guys can watch. So we're gonna open this up with the chase for 16-0. Obviously, in season one, I was in the chase. I think I lost 3 weeks before the end of the season to Worm Reaver and the Jaguars, who has now left. I finished 15-1. So the Dallas Cowboys are in a prime position to go undefeated. First team that would go undefeated this cycle. I think we did have a couple last cycle that managed to go 16-0. But he's got a matchup this week against Arizona, who I think is arguably the toughest team he has left to play. So Ryan, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I've played Arizona and I've played Dallas. Arizona was a tough game, but Dallas is rolling and they're rolling downhill. You can't stop a boulder going downhill. And with these stats, they back it up. I'm thinking the 16-0 very possible at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I do believe Dallas is actually going to finish 16-0 in regular season. This has been a weird season for a lot of people. We've lost a lot of the top tier users. I think a lot of people would argue Troy, Coach Worm, Cole Copeland left from the Patriots. We've seen a lot of new guys come in. I don't know everybody's name yet, and I know there's Matrock, a couple other new people that have come in and fill in the shoes of the previous owners, but we don't really know what they're bringing to the table yet in terms of user skill. So it'll be interesting to see that going into the next user season after they have 2 off seasons to build up their team the way they want it. But I do believe Dallas is in a prime position to go 16-0, give them the number one seed, which I think might be the first time, maybe the second time Dallas has gotten the number one seed in the NFC and HaW, which you definitely want that home field advantage when it comes to the playoffs. So, speaking of playoffs, let's just touch real quick on the playoff picture. Since the show is starting so late in the season here, we're not going to really touch so much on individual game matchups as much as we normally do. We're just going to jump straight into the playoff picture. We got 2 weeks left after this week finishes. How does the NFC look playoff wise?
There's a lot of strong teams vying for very few spots right now. Right now, the Vikings, the Rams, Packers, Eagles, Cardinals, and 49ers are all right there in the mix in a tightly contested rest of the season. I got to hand it to the Packers right now. They've been on a downslope, but their remaining 2 games may be the easiest 2 games of all potential playoff teams right now.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the NFC where you've got 4 teams that are arguably fighting for those last 2 wildcard slots at roughly the same record. I do see Green Bay personally shooting it in there, but as for that last team, it's really a throw up. I think the Eagles actually still have to play Dallas one more time, which is a huge roadblock to getting into playoffs. And with Arizona playing Dallas this week, it's going to be an interesting last 2 weeks for those wildcard teams.
Right. And And one of the key matchups, the Eagles and Cardinals will play. So that is going to be a game to watch coming up.
Yeah, that game right there might honestly decide who gets that last spot. With San Francisco currently looking in from the outside, we don't know the tiebreakers. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look in Madden and see who had the best conference records and all that. So it's a throw up right now, but I think it's down to those 4 teams for those last 2 wild card spots. Your team, the Rams, actually has 2 tough games left. There's a chance you could possibly fall down to a wild card slot and see Arizona or San Francisco. Maybe, I'm not sure about the tiebreakers, but win the division. So a lot could still happen, even with Minnesota at 10-4. Um, the 3 and 4 seed, I think the top 2 seeds are basically locked up in the NFC. But a lot of moving around between the 4 and 6 seeds could possibly occur.
Right. A
Then
lot can happen.
we're gonna turn over to the AFC here, who doesn't get as much love anymore because most of the players in the AFC aren't as vocal anymore. You know, Otto doesn't show up that much in GroupMe. HaW chat on TSO's dead now, basically. So we don't really see Jordan or Otto. Arlen shows up from time to time, but we don't see like the AFC owners representing that much in chat. But they're still having great seasons. Broncos 12-1. You don't see them get as much hype, but Otto's doing what Otto does. He's getting in that mid-season form, the mid-cycle form, I should say, that he was in when he won his Super Bowl last cycle. Uh, Horton at 11-2-1 with a tie. Everyone loves ties. Arlen really showing up with his favorite team this cycle, the Dolphins at 12-2. They still have the strong teams that can contend. I think the playoff race in the AFC might already be kind of locked up though. The top 6 teams all look pretty set. Broncos at 1, Dolphins at 2, Titans at 3, Browns at 4, which I don't think a lot of people saw coming, and then you got Kansas City and Pittsburgh in 5 and 6. Pittsburgh being the 6th seed currently at 9-5, but the next closest team at 7-5-1. Highly unlikely that 6th seed is going to change. So I think the AFC playoff picture is set. Just a couple seeds could be changed, but I think the six teams are locked in. So we're gonna take a quick touch here. I want to touch on some stats this season. I know in season 1 towards the end, obviously Vic Beasley was putting up a lot of sacks. There was a conversation in chat about, do we think we should limit players based on stats? And at the time, I know we came to the consensus that, hey, let's just let them play. Let's not care about stats. But I want to retouch that, as I think we should care about stats. You know, I personally don't like seeing people with 30 sacks or people throw for 6,000 yards or receivers catching 2,200 yards. I would like to move back to the way it was, where we do care about stats. And I know things have toned down a little bit recently, because earlier in the season some of the sack numbers were starting to look crazy, but it looks like people have controlled themselves, which I'm very happy to see. And I want us to care about stats. I want us to go back to being a better sim league, and I think we're moving mostly in the right direction. Um, in terms of stats, what are some stats that stick out at you this year?
You know, the stats for the Cowboys obviously are sticking out. You know, 200 for 297, over 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns for Jimmy Russell.
See, the thing about that is, as great of a season as Jimmy Russell's having, like arguably easily the MVP of the season. I don't think anyone's even close to him in terms of winning the MVP. Uh, well, shouldn't be. Let me rephrase that. Shouldn't be. He's not even top 5 in terms of yardage. I think he's tied maybe for touchdown leading in touchdowns, but in terms of yardage, he's not even top 5. You've got Marcus Mariota, who more than likely will win MVP because of the way Madden does their MVP voting. I think they put a lot of focus on yards, sitting at 4,800 yards with 2 weeks left. Um, so I don't think Jimmy Russell is necessarily focused. I do agree with you that Christine Michael and Des Bryant might arguably break the records for their particular positions, but I think Jimmy Russell is completely fine. And as strong as that offense has been all year, it really seems like Raiders kind of been rolling over almost anyone he plays this season. Uh, he's averaging 37.4 points a game, so he's scoring a lot. It's it's really hard to tell in that situation, but I think Jimmy Russell is perfectly fine in that situation.
Probably one of the most efficient stats out there on the board right now. Only 97 incomplete passes.
Oh yeah, I was actually looking at Jimmy Russell on the console the other day, and his completion percentage, his touchdown to interception ratio. I haven't seen Raider play that much this year because I don't think he personally streams, and I'm not sure if he's played a lot of people that stream, but he's done pretty good things with Russell. I think he's got single digit interceptions on the year, or am I wrong about that? Do you see that?
Um,
Yeah, 7 interceptions currently on the year, which for Raider is highly impressive in my opinion. Not saying he's very turnover prone, but I see him easily as more of a double digit interception guy as opposed to 7.
and another efficient quarterback from the AFC is Ryan Tannehill. You know, 36 touchdowns to 11 interceptions,
Yeah,
and he's top 5 in passing yards.
I think one of the more surprising teams is the Dolphins. Obviously, Arlen's always been. I think he's been borderline top user. When he was stuck in the AFC West, he never could seem to overcome Otto and Troy. But now he's kind of running his own division. There's no other clear top user currently in that division. Obviously, new players joining. We don't know what we have. But he's really impressed me in terms of what he's done this year. I played him earlier in the year. Close game. Ryan Tannehill's done impressive things. It'll be interesting to see how he fares in the playoffs. Currently looking like the number 2 seed, gonna have a first round bye. Now let's move on. Let's double back to the playoffs here. Obviously, this far in the season, everyone's focused on the playoffs. Everyone wants to be in the playoffs. The teams that aren't in the playoffs are focused on the number 1 pick. Some people are probably even throwing games to get that number 1 pick. How do you feel the playoff picture is gonna go in the NFC? I want you to give me predictions on the wild card round, predictions on the divisional round, and then predict who you're gonna win the NFC. And afterwards, I'll touch the AFC.
I think it's pretty much mathematical. The Cowboys and Falcons are going to have the bye week in the wild card round. Um, I feel like the Vikings and the Rams are going to be hosting the 49ers and the Packers. Not that particular order, just those two teams will be hosting the two visiting teams. In the end, I feel like the Cowboys will get the best of Minnesota. Falcons get the best of the Rams, with the Cowboys still unable to beat the Falcons.
Obviously, if things go that way, which currently it looks like it will, I would prefer to play anyone other than the Packers in the playoffs, as the Packers seem to play me the hardest of anyone I play in Madden 16. So if I play anyone other than the Packers, I'm pretty confident. I would agree that it's going to end up Cowboys and Falcons. Obviously, the storyline being that Raider can never. I am the coach to Raiders' greatness, basically. In Madden 15, I eventually got over the hump and beat Coach in the playoffs. The question is Raider finally going to be able to get over me and beat me in the playoffs and get his first Super Bowl? That's the question. I think I'm going to win. I'm not going to sit here and say that Raider's going to beat me because he's not. But the question is does he believe he can beat me? And will he show up in the NFC Championship game and beat me? AFC-wise, it's pretty straightforward, in my opinion. I think I only have one upset. I've got the Titans over the Steelers in the wild card round. Horton always shows up in the playoffs. I've got the Browns beating the Chiefs, only because I'm still not sure how good the Chiefs owner is, and I'm not sure if he has the roster he wants to have for the Chiefs. In the divisional round, I've got the Broncos going over the Browns. I think Aku has done great things this season, but I'm not sure he's quite ready to beat the Broncos in the playoffs in Denver. Then I do have the Titans beating Miami in Miami. Arlen's done great things this year. Ryan Tannehill's been great. I'm just not sure when it comes to predicting playoff games that Arlen can beat Jordan. In the championship game, I do have Denver beating Tennessee, but this is going to be the closest game out of the AFC playoff picture. They did play week 1 and the final score was 31-30 with Denver winning. So prediction-wise, I'm going to give the game to the Broncos only on that one previous win, but I could see this going easily either way. So, speaking of the Browns, me and you universally agreed before we started this call when we were getting everything together that the Browns have easily been the most surprising user of this season. Would you agree?
I agree with that.
Arguably, you could make an argument for you. I don't think anybody saw you going 10-4, or even having a shot at the playoffs based on your past history. But you've built a good squad in St. Louis. But I do believe that Aku is more surprising based on past experience with what he's done, and not only what he's done, but what he still has to do. The trades he's made, the picks he's acquired for future drafts. The Browns are honestly set up to be a great team for the rest of this cycle. The only question is does Aku have the user skill needed to take that great team he can build with these draft picks and win a Super Bowl? And that's what I'm not sure about yet. Because you can build a great team on paper, but if you can't pick up that controller and beat top tier teams, it doesn't matter how great your team is.
Well, if you look back to season one, the season where you and Troy went 15-1, he did take Troy and several others to their limits that season. So he has improved his game in various areas. And I know the run game for him has improved greatly.
He's made a lot of trades though. A lot of people criticized. Obviously, going back to season one, trading Joe Hayden to Tennessee to Jordan, a lot of people criticize that. But just look at he he has built his team the way I wish I could be patient enough to build my team, which is acquiring a lot of draft picks and building your team through the draft. Because I do think first round prospects in Madden 16 are almost hard to miss on. So having multiple first or second round picks can build your team up very quickly. And what he's done in Cleveland is remarkable. Very, very surprised and very happy to see what he's done in Cleveland. Now, to touch on the most underwhelming team of the season, and I think this is an easy pick, it's obviously the Oakland Raiders. 15-1, season one with Troy. Starting this season, Troy was there, then Troy wasn't there, then Troy was kind of there again, but now Troy's not there. Obviously, Troy was a top tier user. People will miss him. I never had a complaint about Troy gameplay wise. It was always fun to play him. But for one reason or another, he felt like it was his time to go. He wasn't happy being in Oakland, and he left. And after he left, that team, which was a 15-1 team with some of the best young talent in the league, had no owner. I think they're sitting on 1-15 or one. I think they have one, maybe two wins. And whoever takes over that roster, I'm not sure if someone has taken over that roster yet, is
Yeah.
going to be in a great position. They've got young players at almost every key position: Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, Latavius Murray. Defensively, you got JPP, Khalil Mack, Alden Smith. You can go on and on. Gussie Anthony. The talent on this team is remarkable. Put a good user there, and they can easily make the playoffs. So, underwhelming wise, them finishing the way they finished was a disappointment, but a good user with an early draft pick. I'm not sure if Troy traded the first rounder this coming year or not, but if he didn't, you're looking at a top 5 draft pick on a team that's already stacked and ready to win. They could do a lot of things in Oakland next year.
Oh, yeah. I believe
So
that
we're
a public drunk has taken over the Raiders now.
Okay. I think that's a TMFL guy. I don't know much about him personally, but we'll see in the coming future. He did have a win actually over New England this week, so putting a quick win on the board. And Derek Carr being hurt obviously doesn't help right now, but we'll see in the future. Obviously, I do think that Raider team could be a threat. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this show. This is our first show back yet again with my current work schedule. I don't really have a much clue when our next show will be. So we're going to go ahead and make our Super Bowl predictions for this season. I'm going to go ahead and start. I think everyone knows before I say it who's going to win the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be Atlanta versus Denver in the Super Bowl. Rematch of the 1998 Super Bowl. Except this time I see Atlanta repeating in back-to-back user seasons. Jordan Vereen has been unanimously the rookie of the year, in my opinion. I'm sure you guys will give me crap about that word now. But Vereen's hitting his point at the right moment. His throws are crisp, they're on target, and I just don't think anyone can stop my team right now. So I'm picking Atlanta over Denver in the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't have Chris Chandler coming back, but I do have the Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Dolphins. Uh, it's going to be close, but I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to finish the job.
A lot of you might think that I'm extremely biased saying that I'm going to win the Super Bowl, but facts prove what facts prove. Madden 16 has been my game. I've been extremely good this cycle. I wasn't this good last cycle, but I'm looking forward to someone giving me a challenge and someone beating me, and I think Raider has the ability to. I think Otto, Jordan, Arlen, Husker, I think everyone has the ability to, but until you prove that you can do it in a game, I'm going to pick me every time. Hell, even after you prove you can do it in the game, I'm still going to pick me every time. I'm winning the Super Bowl every year. The only reason I didn't win the Super Bowl last year is because I wasn't in it. But if I was in it, I would have won it. So that's all the time we have today, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be back. I want to see more content in HaW. I want to see more interaction. I want to see more people talking in GroupMe. Let's get HaW back to the great thing it once was and still is. Let's get it about more than just playing games. Let's get interaction. Let's get people talking to people. Let's get fun games. Let's get back to hype every time people play. Let's get streams. I want to see more streams. Let's make HaW great like it once was and still kind of is, but we need more. And I can't be the only one to do that. And I know I'm not the only one. But I need some of the new guys to step up. I need some of the old guys to step back up. So in close, this is Ryan Rain over there, still hiding his disfigured face from his salt mine accident. And I'm Greatness DC. I'm actually, time's running up. I got to go feed my family yet again. It's a daily event. And we're signing off of this episode of League of Greatness. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again.